Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavatir Naishtiki Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham karoti vachanam pangam nangati girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramanandam Madhavam. All glories to the assembled devotees. So we are resuming our discussion on the third canto, chapter 24. And this is essentially a conversation. This is essentially a conversation that is happening between Lord Kapila and Kardam Muni. So to set the scene, Devahuti had stopped Kardam Muni from leaving because she had said that he had still not given her Abhaidan. He had still not made her fearless of the material existence. Which is another way of saying is that I feel unprotected. And Prabhupada mentions that the woman needs to be either protected by the father or the husband or the son. So she did not have a son. And Kardamuni accepts it and glorifies Devahuti. He also remembers the promise of the Lord. And subsequently, Lord Kapila, he appears. So after the appearance of Lord Kapila, Kardam Muni, he approaches him in a secluded space and talks confidentially to him. So he begins with, as devotees generally do when they're speaking to the Lord, with the glorification of the Lord. So he speaks about how the Lord is worshipped by everybody in one way or the other. How those who worship the Devas, those who worship the Brahman, and finally those who worship the Bhagavan. So verse 29 was Kardam Muni glorifying those who worship Brahman. And he says that not considering the negligence of ordinary householders like us, the very same personality of Godhead appears in our homes just to support his devotees. So this is the Bhakta Vatsalya Bhava of Krishna. So the Karmis and the Astangis, they try to attain the Lord by their own endeavor. But the devotees, they rely on the mercy of the Lord. So that's why he's saying negligence. It's not deliberate negligence, but just as jivas, they have shortcomings. So Krishna is kind to his devotees, and overlooking their shortfalls, he appears in their homes just to support it. So this point is now further expanded in the next two verses, 30 and 31. So we are resuming our discussion from verse 30, 324, 30. Swiyam va kimratam kartam avatirno sime grahe chikeshur bhagavan jnanam bhaktana manavardhanaha. Kardam Muni said, "You, my dear Lord, who are always increasing the honor of your devotees, have descended in my home just to fulfill your word and disseminate the process of real knowledge. So Karda Muni is remembering the promise that was made by Lord Vishnu when he had appeared before him at the end of his 10,000 years long austerity, that he would descend as his son. So he had also said that he would establish Sankhya. So Chikirshur Bhagavan Jnanam. So Chikirshur Bhagavan Jnanam is to distribute the knowledge of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he said that's why you're glorified as Bhaktanam Man Vardhana, one who is increasing the honor of his devotees. So Srila Prabhupada comments on this, that if you put these two together, what it means is that this philosophy of Sankhya is increasing the honor of the devotees. So what does this mean? That Sankhya is specially meant for devotees. It is not dry mental speculation. So Prabhupada in this way is distinguishing this Sankhya from the other Sankhya by the pretender, Kapila, and also mentioning the fact that devotees are really not interested in speculative knowledge. So when Kapila Muni is distributing Sankhya, then even though it is knowledge, it cannot be speculative knowledge. It has to be to establish bhakti. That knowledge devotees are interested in. So that is why the devotees feel honored. So when one reads instructions given directly by the Lord in Bhagavad Gita, Uddhav Gita, then one feels important that Krishna is so kind that he personally came to give this message. And he's taking all these pains, doing this Leela, descending for our benefit. So that is why it is Man Vardhana. It is increasing the honor of the devotees. Verse 31. Tane evat virupani Rupani Bhagavam Stava Yani Yani Charochante Swajananam Arupinaha. My dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They truly are your transcendental forms, which are pleasing to your devotees. So Kardam Muni uses the word Arupinaha. So Arupinaha can also be interpreted as one without a form. Prabhupada interprets as one without a material form. And then he substantiates it by quoting Sridhar Swami in the purport. That Sridhar Swami, he commented that Arupinaha does not mean without form, but without material form. Because if Arupina meant no form, then the earlier part of the verse, that Bi Rupani Bhagvam Sata, that you have your forms but they are not material. How can that be relevant? So after Kardam Muni is saying you have a form, that Abhi Rupani. So you take forms that are suitable. So the word Arupina is basically qualifying in that context. That yes, if the Lord takes a form, then what does Arupina mean? That they are not material. So Kardamuni is also stating when he says Abhirupani Rupani, your suitable forms. So what does it mean, your suitable forms? And Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that Krishna takes forms that are suitable to the desires of his devotees. So sometimes he will take a form that is based on the reciprocation to the desires of his devotee. Like the gopis, they're only interested in Krishna's two-hand form, no other form. Narayan, any other form, they're not interested. Hanuman, he's only interested in Lord Ram. There's a pastime of Hanuman saying that that compared to the form of Lord Ram, he actually finds the form of Lord Narayan to be not very attractive. So this is Krishna taking forms, responding to the desires of his pure devotees. Then Abhirupani also means that he takes forms suitable for a lila, for a pastime. So when he had to rescue earth, he came as Kurma. When he had to rescue from the flooding, he came as Matsya. When he had to save Prahlad, he came as Narsimha. And then Abhirupani means that suitable to the desire of the Lord. The Lord also he's full of desires, so suitable to his own desire. And this generally refers to his original two-hand form that he takes, that is suitable to his own desire. Then some of the forms, like the universal form, may not be necessarily pleasing to the Lord, but he takes that to encourage his devotees. That because there are certain aspiring devotees that are still materially vested, and for them he takes the Virat Roop so that they can meditate on matter within spirit. But in the Brahma Samhita, it is mentioned that he has infinite roops. In the verse Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Ananta Rupam. So Anadi Ananta Rupam means that he has infinite forms. And then it also says that he is the source of all these forms. Ramadi Mursteshu Nana Kalaniyeta Nana Avataram Akrosh Vibhavitu Bhinnam, that all these different forms, like Ramadi, Rama, etc., he is the source of it. And similarly in the Bhagavatam, it is said that Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. Etecham Sakalapamsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam. That he has many forms. But Krishna is the basis of it. So the point is that his Abhirupani Rupani, that the many forms that he has, is simply what is known as polymorphism. Same person taking many forms. One should not consider this to be many persons. So that's why Sanatana Dharma, Vedic philosophy, supports monotheism. Sometimes people say you have so many gods. No, we have only one God, Krishna. But Rupani, but he takes suitable forms depending on various desires of the devotees, depending on the need of the pastime, to encourage his devotees, for his own pleasure. He takes many forms, but they are all based on the same personality, Krishna. Jiva Goswami comments that some of the forms of the Lord are unsuitable, and that is mentioned. That will be mentioned 2 verses down. So like Maya, the material world is also a form of the Lord. The Lord does not enjoy that form. It's an unsuitable form, but he does it more so for reciprocating with the desires of the jivas. Verse 32. Tvam surabhis tattva bubutsayada sada vivardharana padapetam aishwarya vairagya yasho avabodha virashiha puratam aham prapadyay. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the reservoir that always deserves to receive worshipable homage from all great sages, eager to understand the absolute truth. You are full in opulence, renunciation, transcendental faith, fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty. And therefore, I surrender myself unto your lotus feet. So, no prayer to the Lord is complete without a glorification of his lotus feet. Generally, they start the glorification with the lotus feet. And here also we see Kardamuni. He is glorifying the Lord's lotus feet. So Kardam is now speaking specifically to Lord Kapila. Earlier on, he was describing the qualities of the personality of Godhead. Now he says Tvam. So he's now referring to him, to Kapila, standing in front of him. And he begins his glorification from his lotus feet. So he says that you're Tri-yugam. So Tri-yugam also means one who appears in three yugas. Here it means three pairs of qualities. So which becomes six qualities. So then he expands on the Tri-yugam. He says Vairagya, Yasha, Aishwarya, Shriya, Avabodh, which is Gyan, and Virya. And he says all these opulences are available in the markings of the lotus feet of the Lord. So one way to remember this opulence is by the mnemonic Vyasava. V-Y-A-S-A-V. So V is for Vairagya, Y is for Yasha, A is for Aishwarya, S is for Shriya, A is for Avabodh, which is Gyan, and the final V is for Virya. It also says the Tri-yugam, which means that it is three pairs or two qualities. I'm not sure what are the three pairs. So I've seen it mentioned as Tri-yugam at other different places. Generally gets expanded to the six qualities. But I'm guessing that at some place it's mentioned that these six qualities are divided into three pairs of two qualities. And there must be some synergy between those qualities to be paired together. And if anybody has that, I'd be interested in getting that. Kardamuni also stresses that these qualities are all spiritual. So these qualities have material counterparts. So we can relate with Vairagya and Yasa and Aishwarya. And sometimes this point is raised that if Parashar Muni describes Krishna with these six qualities which are material, how can you say that God is spiritual? Because at this point they're talking about spiritual qualities. Material world is a reflection of the spiritual. You find the qualities here, but when it is used in conjunction with Krishna, it is so he is Purtam. He is full of them, and that is why his devotees have no attraction to material qualities. Okay, next verse 33. Param pradhanam purusham mahantam kalam kavim tivratam lokapalam atmanubhutya nugut prapancham Swachanda Shaktim Kapilam Prapadye. I surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended in the form of Lord Kapil, who is independently powerful and transcendental, who is the Supreme Lord and the Lord of the sum total of matter and the element of time, who is fully cognizant, maintainer of all the universes under the three modes of material nature, and who absorbs the material manifestation after their dissolution. So this, according to Jiva Goswami, is one of the forms of the Lord that
Again, we lost.
is different. So
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
yes, Prabhu.
It is on and off from you now. We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me now?
Now it is okay. We can't see you now. We lost you for a few seconds, I think.
Oh, it's becoming a chronic problem. Not sure what to do about it. Okay, give me a few seconds.
It's the signal, because on your screen sometimes we see the antenna, the signal is strength, and now we don't see it at all when you speak.
Signal is okay because everything else is running on Wi-Fi.
Do you have another machine, Prabhu?
No, I have only one machine.
Why can't you talk on phone, Prabhu? You can look at that. You have phone, right? On phone, you can put up your video. That will be good in my view. Shall I send that link to you? Just try to see that.
I think now we have lost Prabhu completely. Can't hear it most of it.
Yeah, let me send this to you. We can see you now, Prabhu.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yeah, we can hear you too. Is your phone or?
This is from the phone.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. So Kardamuni is glorifying Lord Kapila by saying Kapilam Prapadye, that I surrender to you. This is also an indication this is a hint into what Lord Kapila will be speaking, because he will be speaking about all these things that Kardamuni is referring to. He's going to be speaking about creation. He's going to be speaking about the nature of the universes. So Sankhya is a lot in terms of how to see matter from the context of spirit, how to see universes in the context of Krishna. So this is also a hint into what is going to be spoken. So Lord Kapila, so he says, you have descended. I surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He says, Param Pradhanam Purusham. And who has descended as Kapila. So Kapila is mentioned as in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. He's mentioned as a Swamsha Leela avatar. So Swamsha means that is non-different. He's Vishnu Tattva. Leela means pastime. Specifically, he's a Swamsha Leela Prabhav avatar. So under Leela we have Prabhast and Vaibhav and Prabhav. So he is in the Prabhava category. So this is a category in which personalities like Lord Dattatreya and Rishabdev come. So these are incarnations of the Lord who come to teach, who leave behind a scripture or teachings. This is a category, the Swamsha Leela Prabhava avatar. So he mentions that, looking a little bit more into what Kardam speaks. So he says that this Pradhan, and like I said, Pradhan will be described later by Kapila, but here he's mentioning that Pradhan is your external energy. So Param means that, one means that you're superior to it. Another meaning is also that you are different from it. So the point that is being made is that he is the source of the Pradhan. He is the source of the material world, and he is distinct from it also. Prabhupada says that the word Param is used in the beginning of the Bhagavatam in the phrase Param Satyam. So it's actually Satyam Param Dhimahi, so the supreme truth, referring to the personality of Godhead. And then Prabhupada said Param is explained by the next word Pradhanam, which means the chief, the origin, the source of everything, Sarvakaran Karanam. So Prabhupada is explaining the phrase in a different way. And as we see that when great people speak, one can derive several meanings. So one meaning is that you're distinct from the Pradhan, you are separate from the Pradhan. And Prabhupada says that Pradhanam Param also means that you are the source of the Pradhan. Sarvakaran Karanam, that you're the cause of everything. Then Kardam Muni calls Kapila as Purusham to convey that again reinforce the form, the concept that is not formless. So you will never use Purusham in the context of Brahman. It's only in the context of somebody with a form, because with form only enjoyment can come. Otherwise, if you're simply energy, what enjoyment can you have? So Purusham is again reinforcing the fact that he has a form. And Vishwanath Chakravarti says that it means that he is also Jiva, or the source of all the Jivas. So as we know that in the Chaturvyu, Sankarshan is also known as Jiva. And the reason is known as Jiva because he carries the Jivas within him. He's the energy that is from which the Jivas are coming. And then when Sankarshan expands to Mahavishnu carries the Jivas. And then Mahavishnu then the Jivas get delivered. So to glorify that quality, he is also known as Jiva. And he is Mahantam. So Mahantam is the agitator of Prakriti and Jiva. He is time element. He says Kalam. He's coming. That he knows everything, past, present, and future. So these are all the qualities of the Lord that Kardam Muni is glorifying in Kapila, specifically in his role as a creator. Then he says that you're the maintainer. So he is the Mahatattva that gets converted into Sutra Tattva and into Ahankar. So he says that in the Rajogun, he is the source of sutra, and in the tamogun, the source of ahankar. So Trivritam conveys that in the Mahatattva, when it is acted upon by the three modes, in the mode of passion, it becomes Sutra Tattva. In the mode of ignorance, it becomes Ahankar. And in the mode of goodness, it remains as Mahatattva. So Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, he quotes this famous verse from Shvetashwar Upanishad, that Parasya Shaktir Videva Shruyate. Everything we see is an interaction of his energy. Parasya Brahma Shaktis Tathadyam Akhilam Jagat. So, after having created the Lord by the influence of his energies, the Lord is maintaining it. And then he's glorified as Lokapalu, that he is the protector of all the lokas. So Lokpalam also means he's protector of those who protect the lokas. So he's protector of people like Indra and Vayu and Suryas. He's the chief of the living entities. And he is Swachanda Shakti. That all this he is doing is independently, without being dependent. Then Kardam says, you are the destroyer. Atmanam anubhutya anugatha prapancha. That when the time is right, you absorb the material manifestation after their dissolution. So he is the creator, he is the maintainer, he is the destroyer. And the last 2 points he makes is Achinta Bheda. He says, you are the same as the material world, but you are also different. So he says, Anugata, that you have entered matter, even though you are Atma Bhutaya, even though you are always situated in your spiritual existence. So as the Antaryami, he is entering into the matter, but then as the Lord, he is always independent. This topic we have discussed quite a bit, especially in the Chaturshloki. And then finally he says that you are same, but you are different. He says you are Atma Bhuyangata Prapachanam. So the different understanding of the word, that when he descends as Kapila or Ram or Narsim or Vara, or whatever form that he assumes, they are not material. So he's eternally different. Even when he is in matter, he's never matter. So even though he's closely associating with material energy, he is never influenced by material energy. So he is giving a succinct description of the Lord. And one may wonder, because if you remember, when the Lord first appeared before Kardamuni, he went through the same thing again. He went through to enunciating the qualities of the Lord, his independence, his Bhaktavatsarya mood, his dependence of everything on him. And now Kapila has come and he's doing the same thing. And we see that over and over again. And these kinds of glorifications, they are there for our purification. That when we make these points, then we ourselves are purified. So when we stand in front of the Lord, so one thing we might say that, Krishna, you know very well who you are. What more can I say? You know yourself better than I do. So what's the point in me even trying? Or we can glorify to the best of our ability what we know, that you're kind, you're supporting everybody, you're fair, but to the devotees you're favorably inclined. The whole universe exists in you, but you are different. So when we say to this Lord, to these things to the Lord, we're glorifying him, that pleases him, And we are purifying ourselves also. And in these cases where the personality is a great personality, the conversation is for the benefit of others. So when others read what the realization of Karda Muni is, they also draw benefit from it. Okay, verse 34. Asamabhrchedya patim prajana tvaya triyanarna utapakamaha pravrijat padvim astitoam chare shetvam hridi yunjan vishokaha. Today I have something to ask from you, who are the Lord of all living entities. Since I have now been liberated by you from my debts to my Father, and since all my desires are fulfilled, I wish to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant. Renouncing this family life, I wish to wander about, free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart. So this is a question I wanted to put to the devotees here. It's a question for, it's a good question for discussion, that the Lord has personally appeared in the house of Karda Muni. Right? And now what Karda Muni is saying, that now that you've appeared in my house, I want to leave my house. So we have already established the credentials of Karda Muni. By his realization, we see that he has a very, very high level of understanding of the Lord. So how can we understand this mood of Karda Muni?
Can you please repeat, Prabhuji? I don't.
So the question I'm asking is in the context of the verse. So what Karda Muni is praying to Lord Kapila, that I wish to accept the order of a sannyasi. I want to renounce family life. And if you look at it from the perspective of Karda Muni, he has the highest benediction. He has the Lord in his own house. It's like Krishna appears in the house of Nanda, and Nanda Baba goes to Krishna and says that, now that you've appeared in my house, I wish to leave Vrindavan and travel around as a mendicant. Right? It seems very odd that for a devotee who has the opportunity to personally associate with the Lord, and he's actually asking for the opposite. That you're come to my house, now I want to go and search for you in the jungle as a traveling itinerant mendicant. How do we understand that?
Is he not showing us an example of what a Gruhastha should be doing? Because if you see the other way, every Grihastha does have Krishna in the altar. They are realized to a certain extent, but they need to follow the actual responsibilities, what they have.
So I guess what you're saying is that he is following the Varnashram Dharma.
Varnashram Dharma.
That as a Grihastha, his next ashram is Vanaprasthanyas, and he's following that. Okay, that's one thought. Any other thoughts?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. The other thought would be, he is a realized soul.
Mm-hmm.
He knows who is Kapila there, and he's Krishna himself. And now he's going out as a mendicant to preach. Most probably he's not going to sit in the jungle. He will go out to pass on the message, to preach as a traveling sannyasi, most probably.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so he is he's prioritizing his service to the Lord greater than his own personal desires. So, like Prabhupada left Vrindavan to preach.
Yes.
Something like that. Okay. Okay. That's another point.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Please go ahead, Prabhuji. I can wait.
I was thinking, Prabhu, he is also facilitating the service of the Supreme Lord, who appeared to give Sankhya philosophy to Mother Devahuti and to the world itself. And that will happen only when he leaves Devahuti behind, and who will then take complete shelter of the Supreme Lord. So he is facilitating that. If he stays, then Devahuti may not take full shelter of Kapil Dev.
Okay. Okay. So he's trying to fulfill the mission of the Lord, which is to speak the philosophy.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So one question, Prabhu. How, if Kadamuni knew that Lord is coming, so what was the purpose he knew? There should be some purpose. What he knew? Is it to distribute Sankhya, or what was he told about?
So the Lord reveals it when he had appeared before him in Bindu Sarovar. So he had said that I will appear as your son and preach the philosophy of Sankhya.
Yeah. So to fulfill to Prabhu's point, is that? But my question is again, if he is your question was, if he is there, what is a blockage? It's not only like if he leaves with Devahuti, but
Yeah, that's true too. Also, I mean, the Lord could still have spoken the Sankhya philosophy to both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
To Kardama and Devahuti. So they're all good points, and I think they broadly align with the points that have been given by Srila Prabhupada and Vishwanath Chakravarti. So the first point that is given is by Vishwanath Chakravarti. It's a little, I guess it needs a little bit of esoteric thinking. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that Kardamuni is in the Dasya Ras. So he's worshipping the Lord in that. Having the Lord in his house will create Rasa Bhas. But now he suddenly is in Vatsalya Ras. So some rasas can mix, some cannot mix. So Sankhya and Dasya can mix, but having a parent who has Dasya Ras, that's Rasa Bhas. So Kardamuni thinks that the Lord will see this unsuitable mixture of the rasas and will anyway create a condition for me to leave. So why don't I do it and take on that service of the Lord? Avoid giving this putting the Lord in this situation. So that's one reason. The second is, as Prem Kishore Prabhu had said, that it is the next step in Varnashram. So he's a Grasta, and the next is Vanaprastha or Sannyas. One can make a further argument in this, that Krishna says that Sarvadharma Pratyaja Mamekam Sharanam Braj. Krishna says you abandon all varieties of religion, which includes Varnashram Dharma. And Kardam is obviously advanced enough to understand it. So why is he following one aspect and not another? And the understanding that is given is that people like Kardam, they also come in the category of Yadyadashrati Seshtas, Tatta Devataro Jana. That they also have to act in a way to set an example for others. So the example that they're setting is that one way of perfection also is to follow your Varnashram Dharma. in the service of the Lord. So this is not karma kand, this is karma yoga, that follow your dharma in the service of the Lord. The third reason that is given, it points to, Prabhupada talks about it in the purport, it points to the swabhav of Kardam Muni. So earlier on we saw that he spoke according to his adhikar. When he said that I have a desire to marry, even though I know I should not, but I do. So that is him speaking according to his adhikar. Now he's speaking according to his swabhav, that by nature he is renunciant. So Prabhupada says that there are those who are Goshtanandis and those who are Atmanandis. So Goshtanandis are those who preach missionary work. They don't like to renounce. They stay in the middle of everyone. They travel from household to household and they actively preach. Atmanandis are those who are satisfied in the self, not impersonalists, but their mood is Nirjan Bhajan. That's the nature. Just like some people are introverted, some people are extroverted, some people enjoy having lots of people around them, some people enjoy having few people, some people enjoy being alone. That's the swabhav. So Kardam Muni is mature enough to understand his swabhav as one who revels in renunciation. So he's taking the Lord's permission, saying that that's my nature. And I'm mature enough to understand that whether I'm with you in the house or whether I'm in the forest all by myself, I will still be with you. Because he had earlier on spoken about the pervasiveness of the Lord. You're everywhere. When he spoke about creation, maintenance, destruction, you're the same, you're different. So he was talking about the pervasiveness. So he said, whether I'm in this hut with you or whether I'm physically separated from you, there's no difference. Because the vision of a devotee sees the Lord everywhere. So these are the three reasons given in the next verse. The fourth reason will be given by the Lord himself, why he approves of this action of Kardama Muni. Verse 35. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Prokta hi lokasya Pramanam Satyalokike Athajane Maya Tubhyam Yadavocham Ritam Mune. The personality of Godhead Kapila said, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, whatever I speak, whether directly or in the scriptures, is authoritative in all respects for the people of the world. O Muni, because I told you before that I would become your son, I have descended to fulfill this truth. So Lord Kapila, he is using himself as an example to stress on the importance of acting as per the scriptures. So the words of the Lord are the scriptures. So he says that whatever I speak, whether directly or in the scriptures, is authoritative. So he had promised to appear as the son of Kardam, and he had upheld that promise. He says, Proktam Satya, that the Vedas are my words. So what he is referring to is that even you should adhere to the words of the Vedas. So in a way, it's not the fourth reason, it's actually emphasis on the third reason. So what he is referring to is the Varnashram Dharma that is spoken in the Vedas. So the point that is making is that you strictly followed the brahmacharya vrata of celibacy and austerity. Then you accepted the grahastha ashram and you lived there strictly as per the Vedic principles. Now your wife has a son, so now you're ready to follow the next ashram of vanaprastha and sannyas. So in the scriptures it says pancha shrodvam vanam vrajet. So one must leave in his family life and enter the forest at the age of 50. So in this context, Vishwanath Chakravarti, he quotes a verse by the Navyogendras that even ignorant living entities can very easily come to know the Supreme Lord if they adopt those means prescribed by the Supreme Lord himself. The process recommended by the Lord is to be known as Bhagavad Dharma, or devotional service to the personality of Godhead. So since the Vanaprastha ashram is recommended by the Lord, and since the traveling Kardama would continue to associate with the Lord, that path is glorified. So either ways, he says by Laukik or Satya. So Laukik means that simply by following the instructions of the Lord, Kardamuni is glorified, and Satya means at a deeper level, that if he is traveling but still with the understanding that the personality of Godhead is present with him, the departure of the Lord is glorified. Prabhupada in the purport, he stresses that sannyas is forbidden in this age of Kali. 4 things are forbidden at the age of Kali: performing an Ashwamedha Yagya, taking sannyas, eating the meat or offering flesh and sacrifice, and having a child from your brother's wife. These 4 things are forbidden in the age of Kali. Now, it's interesting that Prabhupada is talking about not taking sannyas at a time when he himself was a sannyasi. And he says, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Kalau nastev gatiranyatha. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also had taken sannyas. So he does not speak about it, but the understanding is that this ashram of sannyas is not karma sannyas or jnana sannyas. It is essentially a part of devotional service, where because from a purist perspective, the sannyas that is taken by Vaishnavas would be considered to be a fall down. They are not allowed to associate with people in general, supposed to shun all kinds of material things, not travel on machines. When Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur he was traveling on car, people were condemning him, that what kind of a sannyasi he is, that he is traveling on a car. And then to make a point, at one of the big functions, he actually came in a Rolls Royce. Some Maharaja had lent him his Rolls Royce. He had come in a Rolls Royce. So the point he had made again, that all this is for preaching purpose, something that Prabhupada, he used very, very extensively. So summary of why did Kardamuni wanted to renounce in spite of having the Lord as his son? One was to follow the Vedic injunction that one should leave home when the time is right. Second was to avoid a mixture between Dasya and Vatsalya, as he was prominently fixed in Dasya. Third is that the Lord will ultimately make him renounce anyway. So why not renounce immediately? And fourth is that more important than direct association is worship and meditation. So the whole concept of more important than Vapu is Vani. So these 4 reasons, the renunciation of Kardamuni is glorified by the Lord. So I'll take a break over here and see if we have any discussion so far.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So I don't know if this is a relevant question, but I see some kind of a linkage there. So if Khadgama Muni is trying to renounce, right? Basically, we are talking about dharma here. Okay. So if you see even from Nanda Maharaj perspective, where Krishna left, whether it's another argument that he never left Vrindavan or left, but the association was not there. Was it also a dharma there? Which Nanda Maharaj followed. He didn't go to Dwarka, or Yashodama didn't go to Dwarka.
Because so you're saying that Nand Maharaj did not follow Krishna to maintain Varnashram.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not talking about Varnashram Dharma, but what is the linkage? That's what I was. Because is it following Dharma? I'm not talking about Varnashram Dharma there. In that case, it is not Varnashram because Krishna was too young. And
So let me see if this can help. So one of the questions that is often asked is that if the Vrajvasis were feeling so much separation from Krishna, why did they not go to Krishna?
Go back to Dwarka, yeah.
Because even Mathura, like Krishna lived there for more than 30 years. And Mathura is not very far from Vrindavan. We have seen that Nand Baba used to go there regularly to pay taxes to Kamsa. So especially the Vrajvasis, they were used to traveling back and forth. The general explanation that is given over here comes in the category of Rasabhas, that the residents of Raja were used to seeing Krishna as Gopa, as a cowherd boy, and that was the form that satisfies them. So in the Kurukshetra, when there was the solar eclipse, the gopis saw Krishna from Dwarka, and they were like, "No, not really. Something missing over here. You're the same Krishna. We are the same gopis, but there is no Yamuna. There is no sands of Raja." So that's how the whole Rath Yatra became. Because then they started pulling Krishna to Vrindavan. You come to Vrindavan, and then we will enjoy. So that's the general explanation I hear, is because they would not have enjoyed their association with Krishna, seeing him as a king, as a prince. And the second point, which is a little bit more subtle, is that, well, 2 more points. The second point would be that their association with Krishna deepened after his departure. So this point is made that when Krishna was there, his association with the Brajvasis was constantly interrupted. So morning, the parents were associating, and they would be like, sun is rising, Krishna is going to leave, and Yashoda Mai would become anxious, Nanda Baba would become anxious. Every day the drama was there, that Krishna would leave and Yashoda Mai would go out, hold him back, and then he would reassure her, then he would leave, then again she would hold him. So, but ultimately he would go because his friends were waiting. So then Sakhya, then he would spend the day with the friends, but the friends knew that at evening it was time for the gopis. And then at night the gopis would associate, and they would know that now it's time for Krishna to go back. So the association was constantly interrupted. But when Krishna went, then the association was uninterrupted, because they were associating with him in separation. So when the Vapu was not there, then the Dhyan, it went on Krishna. So it was unbroken association. So in Gopal Champu and what is the book that Shivaraj Mora, Krishna Sangati, that point is made that that's the only reason that the Brajvasis were able to live, because they were associating with Krishna non-stop. Otherwise, they would have given up their bodies. Third point, which is a little bit of a I would not say controversial, but one of those points that have discussions here and there, is that Krishna was always returning to Vrindavan. So even though it is said that he never returned to Vrindavan when he left, or some say that he returned to Vrindavan after he killed Dantavakra, which is several years later on. But there are many acharyas who make this point. Krishna Sangati also makes the point that he was constantly returning to Vrindavan. So they were getting his association in their grounds. So yeah, I think a lengthy answer to your question, but interesting point you address.
So if I may ask one more follow-up, Prabhu, so how are we looking at this with what Kardama Muni followed? Is he teaching that one should follow dharma? I'm not talking about the Varnashram dharma. At every point, we will be having our own dharma, right? Like whether it is taking care of parents or the kids, so we need to be understanding our dharma at every juncture of our life. Is that what he's trying to?
Absolutely. That's the point that is being made here. That why did he take sannyas when Krishna was there in his house? Because that was his dharma. And the dharma that is following is Bhagavad dharma. Right? He's not following the karma or the Gyan Varnashram, he's following Bhagavad dharma, because he knows that whether he stays at home or he's in the forest, he will be associating equally with the Lord. So at that level of realization. So the thing about Kardama Muni that stands out the most is his maturity. That I mentioned that he speaks according to his adhikar, he acts according to his swabhav. That's the main lesson that we get from Kardama Muni. That we act according to our adhikar and we act according to our swabhav. So his nature was renunciant nature, but he's not compromising his bhakti, because when one acts according to the swabhav and one acts according to the adhikar, that's the quickest way to make devotional advancement. If you talk to some of the earlier devotees in ISKCON, everybody was doing book distribution, but not everybody was suited for book distribution. Right? So you saw that so many devotees, they used the word burnt out. So many devotees got burnt out. Because some of them, now you see more people are aligning. There are some people who are who like deity worship, some people who like book distribution, some people who like study of the scriptures. And so they are basically staying there, becoming mature, getting the deeper respect. Earlier on, it was, if you are failed as a book distributor, you become a pujari. So it was almost like, the school for the dropouts kind of thing. So acting according to both adhikar and swabha, and that's where taking shelter of guru and other devotees help, because the eye cannot see itself. Kardama Muni is a different case. He's highly advanced, but we may think that we have a certain adhikar, we may think we have a certain swabha. We may be right, we may not be right, but essentially that's when we take shelter, and the guru instructs us, he observes us. That's why we have a living guru, because he can observe adhikar and swabha and give us commensurate instructions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji, how do you make that differentiation between adhikar and swabhav?
Adhikar is predicated on your level of advancement, and swabhav is predicated on your nature. So based on one swabhav, you may be a neophyte, or you may be medium, or advanced. So there are people who do deity worship, and they become so absorbed in deity worship, right? So their swabhav is deity worship, but their adhikar is very, 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 very elevated. You know, they consider almost the Lord to be standing in front of them in the deity form. From a more practical perspective, I guess you're asking how we can apply it in our life. It's something that we do. Maybe we don't do it with full consciousness, but it's something that we do at all points of time, right? When we are when we are following Ekadashi Vrat, what's the recommendation for Ekadashi Vrata? That best is you do Nirjal. If you can't do Nirjal, you do Nirahar. If you can't do Nirahar, then Falahar. And nothing below that. So some devotees do Falahar, some devotees do Nirahar.
Again, we lost you.
I can hear.
Oh, you can see me?
Yeah, I can see you also.
So maybe this is a problem in Prem Kishore's connection.
No, we all had issues when you were on your laptop.
This time we could hear you.
On the phone, that is fine, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Prem Kishore.
That's a good root cause.
I was thinking because you are the host of the Zoom somehow. So we do something, right? We know we have to follow Ekadashi. We'll do something. We'll follow it in a way that does not overly stress us out. Like different people do it. I used to, for many years, I used to do Nirjal Ekadashi. But then as I grew older, I realized that it's stressing me out. So I stopped doing Nirjal Ekadashi. So that's acting according to one's adhikar. And then Swabhav also, right? There are so many services that are available. Some people like cooking for the deities. Some people like singing for the deities. Some people like dressing the deities. So you pick a service. All services are the same. They're equally glorious. All services are the same, but you pick a service that most resonates with your mood. And that way you're also serving happily. The service is also being done nicely, and the Lord is also pleased. So these two things are important considerations. And like I said, that's what the Guru is always adjusting for you. They may not lay it out in a mathematical equation that so much, but that's what they're constantly adjusting. When you go to your Guru and say that I'm having challenges chanting, and the Guru will talk to you and say that maybe you should try and read something about chanting. I remember Rumput Maharaj gave me that instruction when I was having challenges. I still have. That time I was having more challenges with chanting. And then he says, you get Satsaru Maharaj's Japa Reform notebook and read that. And sometimes he would, or to some devotees, he would say that chant with other devotees, or chant in front of the deities, etc. So essentially, that's what your Guru Maharaj is constantly doing to help you. That he's adjusting your services according to Swabhavadikar.
Thank you.
Okay. So there are no more questions. We can go to the next verse, 36. Etan me janma lokasmin mumukshunam durashaya prashankhayanaya tattvanam samatyatma darshane. My appearance in this world is specially to explain the philosophy of Sankhya, which is highly esteemed for self-realization, for those desiring freedom from the entanglement of unnecessary material desires. So the Lord is talking about the reason for his appearance. So he said those who are looking for Dura Shayat. So Dura Shayat is the sinful subtle body. So essentially reclaiming their spiritual body. So Prabhupada says the word Dura Shayat is very significant. It refers to Dukha, misery, and Ashayat, which is shelter. So what does that mean? That conditioned souls have taken shelter of the material body, which is full of troubles and miseries. Also, it means that the soul taking shelter of the material body results in troubles and miseries. Almost the same thing. Just talking about the fact that the relationship between the soul and the material body is full of troubles and miseries, whether the troubles and miseries lie in that material body or whether they lie in the relationship between the soul and the material body. So that is why the Sankhya philosophy is Tattva now. So Tattva means truth. So it will elaborate on the real truth, which is the knowledge of how to get out of the material body, which is the source of all trouble. So Lord Kapila is assuring Kardamuni that the purpose for which he has come is not going to be affected by his leaving. So he's not saying that I was hoping that you be my first student or that Devahuti has that position, or you learn from me and preach. The reason he's not saying is because, as Prabhupada mentioned earlier on, he's Kardamuni by his nature is not a Goshtanandi, he's an Atmanandi. So the Lord is not giving him services that knows that are against his nature. So, but he's saying that this is why I have appeared. Okay, next verse. Eshatma pathavyato nashtakale nabhuyasa tam pravartitam deham imam vidhi maya vratam. The path of self-realization, which is difficult to understand, has now been lost in the course of time. Please know that I have assumed this body of Kapil to introduce and explain this philosophy to human society again. So this reminds us of the verse that Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter. Right? He says, Sakalena Mata Yoga Nashta Parantapa. So this seems to be happening all the time. So it's not that Bhagavad Gita is unique in the way that its knowledge was lost over time. Lord Kapila is saying that same thing has happened to Sankhya also. So also it means that Sankhya is not something new that Kapila came and said that let me introduce you to this new thing. It's been there since time immemorial, and it has to be, because it is talking about something that is eternal, the relationship between the Lord and his devotees. So Sankhya has to be there since time immemorial. But the reason that is coming is that it has been lost over a period of time, and he has come to speak it again. So given that this is the reign of the first Manu, in the first day of Brahma, one can understand that this loss happened due to the destruction of the universe. So he does not say it explicitly. Now Krishna, when he says about the loss of Bhagavad Gita, he's in the 7th Manvantara, in the 28th Yuga, on the border of Dwapar and Kali Yuga. But this is a different time. This is first Manvantara, first day of Brahma, Swayambhavu Manu is there. So when Lord Kapila is saying it's been lost, he's been saying it's been lost over the implication is that it's being lost through this process of the destruction and recreation of the universe. Then the Lord says, Deham Maya Vratam. I have assumed this body. So Vishwanath Chakravarti states that the Lord and his body are non-different. But the Lord is speaking this as a customary expression. So it's like Krishna saying that I'm coming out of the house. And then somebody pounces on it and says, how can Krishna come out of the house? Krishna is everywhere. So clearly it means Krishna is not God. Because he's at one point and he's coming to another point. So he's localized. So he is defeating the definition of God. So he's not God. But these statements should be considered to be conventional. So when he says Deha Maya Vratam, he's talking about his incarnation. That I have come here as Lord Kapila, me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I have come here as Kapila. So Vishwanath Chakravarti quotes 2.5.18 to substantiate that point, that the Supreme Lord is pure spiritual form, transcendental to all material qualities, yet for the sake of creation of the material world and his maintenance and annihilation, he accepts through his external energy the material modes of nature called goodness, passion, and ignorance. So this is spoken in 2.5.18. So here again, the acceptance of the Lord of the material modes of nature is conventional, because the Lord can never accept these modes. But the acceptance is to indicate that he is using these modes in order to further the process of creation. Verse 38. Gaccha kama maya prastho mayi sanyasta karmana jitva sudarjayam mrityum amritatva jyamam bhaja. Now being sanctioned by me, go as you desire, surrendering all your activities to me, conquering insurmountable death, worship me for eternal life. So this is the explicit approval that is given. And this is something that you will see in, so even though Lord Kapila is the son of Kardam, but he is personality of Godhead. So he has the position of the Guru, something that you see in the Guru-disciple relationship, that there are some things that have to be said explicitly. Because now it's not true in case of Kardam Muni, but in other cases it is true that disciples by nature are confused. So when instructions are given with ambiguity, then it is open for interpretation. So it is customary for gurus. They might speak from a philosophical basis, they may speak from an analogous basis, from the personal realization, but then they will end everything saying that now you should do this. So we see the same thing happening here. Kardam Muni is explicitly giving his approval that to Kardama, Kapila Dev is explicitly giving his approval to Kardam that now you can leave. So Vishwanath Chakravarti says that the Lord is saying Kamam Maya, that the Lord is saying out of love for his devotee. So he's giving a little bit, and Vishwanath Chakravarti is what is known as a rasacharya. So he's always looking for deeper mellows. So he gives a little bit of deeper mellow in this. He's saying that the Lord is saying that, my dear Kardam, my dear father, my desire is that you do not go. even if you stay here, you will achieve Amritatvaya. So he interprets Kamamaya as my desire is that you should not go, because here only you will achieve Amritvaya. However, understanding the potential conflict in Kardam due to the conflict of rasas and the need to set an example for others, the Lord sanctions the departure of Kardam while lovingly assuring him of the same results. So this is again talking about the very personal form of the Lord. So Kardamuni is acting according to his Swabhav and Adhikar, and the Lord is reciprocating to it, but and as per Vishwanath Chakravarti, but not in a mechanical way. He is not saying, okay, so this is what you're qualified for, do this. But he's saying that I would want you as my devotee to stay with me, but I understand that there are mitigating factors. But my assurance to you is that the results will be the same. The same results that you would get by staying with me, my personal association, you will also get in your renunciation. The condition that he puts is more of an instruction that he gives is Sanyasta Karmana Mam Bhaja. Sanyasta Karmana, that you surrender all activities, Mam and Bhaja. So two things he says, Sanyasta Karmana, Mam Bhaja. Right? So these are the two dual potent, most powerful tracks of spiritual progress, which is material detachment, Sanyasta Karmana, you surrender all activities, Mam Bhaja, while worshipping me. So he's saying you just do all this, and then you will reach me. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that the purpose of Sankhya philosophy is stated herein. If anyone wants real eternal life, he has to engage himself in devotional service. So not just do Sanyasta Karmana. Sanyasta Karmana is a means to an end. But what he has to do is Mam Bhaja. He has to worship the Lord. And that, Prabhupada says, is the essential purpose of Sankhya philosophy. Okay, I'll do one more verse. We are almost at the end of the chapter, but we don't have sufficient time to finish it. I think we may have just maybe 6-7 verses. But I'll do one more verse and then I'll stop for any discussion. Verse 39. Mamatmanam swayam jyotihi sarvabhuta guyashayam atmanya evatmana vikshya vishoka bhayam rachasi. In your own heart, through your intellect, you will always see me, the supreme self-effulgent soul dwelling within the hearts of all living entities. Thus, you will achieve the state of eternal life, free from all lamentation and fear. So this is the Falstuti. This is where he's being assured that he will never be separated from the Lord. If he stayed there, he will see the Lord because of physical proximity. If he leaves, no, there's no difference, because he's saying that in your heart, you will continue to see me. The Prabhupada says that Kapila Dev uses the word Mam to emphasize that the personality of Godhead is the ultimate feature of the absolute truth. In Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead says Mam. unto me. Sartam pratyaje mam ekam sharanam vaj. But the rascals misinterpret the clear meaning. Mam is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since the less intelligent cannot understand this point, it is stressed everywhere, again and again. So essentially, the Lord is saying that Kardam will see him in his heart as Paramatma. So again, the same point is that if the Lord is personally in front of him, why would Kardam strive to see the Lord in his heart, given that the Paramatma is a partial expansion of the personal form of the Lord? So Prabhupada, he explains this in the purport that Paramatma Darshan is included and not exclusive of the personal darshan of the Lord. So saying it again, what Prabhupada says is that if one is seeing the Lord in his heart, it does not mean that the person is seeing as Paramatma. It can also mean that the person is seeing as Paramatma and as Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Or he is seeing as Paramatma in connection with Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. Right? In the 6th chapter, we have this understanding that when a yogi is doing dhyana, then he can meditate on whatever his dharana is. He could meditate on the impersonal Brahman. He could meditate on the material Virat Purush. He could meditate on Paramatma, or he could meditate on Krishna Swayam Bhagavan. So it's not that Kardam Muni is giving up the personal form of the Lord for the Paramatma form. The difference is, which the Lord is pointing out, is that he will see him in his heart as opposed to being personally present before him. So in text 34 of this chapter, Kardam Muni had asked Lord Kapila to bless him with the strength to wander, to follow the path of sannyas. Specifically, he said is, I would like to wander about free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart. Now here in text 39, Kapila Dev, he is giving him that benediction. So he is saying, yes, you will wander about free from lamentation, thinking of me always in your heart. In the previous chapter 323, Devahuti had requested Kardamba to award her abhaya, fearlessness and spiritual knowledge, for she felt that she had not taken actual advantage of his association. So Kardam Muni's reply repeated the Lord's promise that he would appear as Devahuti's son and instruct her. So in the next verse, Lord Kapila will uphold this promise of Kardam also. So we see this very sweet mood of the Lord reciprocating to the desires of his devotee. So Kardam said that, bless me that I take sannyas. And Kapila Dev says, Tathastu. Not only will you take sannyas, but you will never be separated from me. You will get the best of both the worlds. That you will see me all the time. So you will have my personal association, but you will also have sannyas, which is what you desire. Then earlier on, Devahuti had approached Kardam Muni saying that you make me fearless. And Kardam Muni had promised that, yes, my son, Lord Kapila, will come and make you fearless. Now, Kapila will confirm to Kardam that I will uphold that promise also, that I will instruct your wife and my mother in a way that will make her fearless. So I'll stop here, see if you have any concluding thoughts or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. One quick question, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, here, like Kardam Muni being in the Dasya Rasa, he is leaving the Lord, and to take renunciant path. So in that mood, like, is there a reason like why he requested the Lord to come as his son? Like, what is his purpose when?
So where does he request the Lord to come as his son?
Like he did the initially, he did tapasya for Lord to.
Don't remember that, Prabhu. As far as I know, maybe I can check, but as far as I know, he performed austerities to get a suitable wife. And it was the Lord who himself promised that I will come as your son. Of course, he didn't refuse it. But I don't believe him. He asked the Lord for that benediction that you should come as my son.
Oh, yes, Prabhu. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji, so in terms of this giving fearlessness to Devahuti, right? Like it just and Kapil Dev, basically we know that he he gave her Sankhya philosophy and explained Sankhya philosophy to her. So and then was the fearlessness awarded that way to Devahuti?
It did. When we'll see, so the Sankhya philosophy will now run pretty much till chapter 33. And there, towards the end, then we'll say that Devahuti was completely freed of all lamentation, all fear, and she returned back to Godhead. So, so yes, the purpose for which it was given was actually accomplished by the mercy of Lord Kapila.
So it means that fearlessness was not like any from not by any kind of I mean it was not offered by any kind of financial financial or emotional support. It was mostly by knowledge.
Mostly by knowledge, because Devahuti was asking for ultimate fearlessness from this material existence. And that's what Kardamuni promised her, that Abhaidan is basically being freed from this fear of material existence. And that's what was promised to her. That's what Lord Kapila upheld, and that's what he delivered.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, so we'll stop here if there's no more questions. Vanchakalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hari Om.